You may throw it on the floor.
I mean, you got your bag, right?
Okay. That's okay.
I like I like to say good evening to everyone. It's now 6 o'clock p.m. At this time, our Town of Bethel Board of Adjustment, I would like to call that meeting to order at this time. And at this time, when we do have a quorum, just for the record, to let it be known, we do have a quorum. I'll turn it over to our town attorney or to our town manager.
Is that right? I'm learning here. Yes, Mayor and Board, tonight we're going to do something I think we've only done once before in all my years as being your town attorney. And the town board will switch hats for a little while, and you will be seated for the beginning of this meeting as the Board of Adjustment. The Board of Adjustment hears special matters. The Board of Adjustment is known as a quasi-judicial board, so it's semi-judicial. You're basically sitting tonight as a trier of fact. You'll receive information, you'll receive evidence, and then at the end of that, you will vote on whether or not to grant, and we have before you tonight 2 variances. So there are two applications for a variance that's in front of you, and we'll get this process started and give you an opportunity to make a decision. If at any point in time, since we don't do this very often, at any point in time you have a question, please just stop and ask me or your town manager. So that being said, the first, we have 2, and you have, I believe, your agenda in front of you. So we're going to take the first one that's on your agenda, and this is a variance and a public hearing for that variance as it relates to a side yard setback issue. This variance is needed to allow a side yard setback of 9.4 feet where you're, yes,
Mr. Counsel?
yes, sir.
Could you come here and show me where I'm supposed to be? This is the first I've heard of any of this. I didn't, where's the material?
Does it have anything?
The,
Might be the last one.
It's on your lap,
Yeah.
the very back.
in mine, it's in the back.
Okay.
There we go. Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm sorry.
It's
Thank
okay.
you very much. Proceed, please. When you get to be 75 years old, you need some help.
That's all right. And I said, ask me a question, and you did just that, so
Okay.
we're in good shape. Again, this is not something we've done often over the years.
All right.
So again, this is a variance request to allow a side yard setback of 9.4 feet, where your ordinance in this particular zoning district requires a side yard setback of 12 feet. So there's your variance. We're varying from the 12-foot requirement down to 9.4 feet. Proper notice has been given for this hearing. The adjacent property owners were mailed notice on April the 24th, and notice was posted on the property on April 24th. So the statutory required notices for this hearing have been taken care of, so the statutory requirement has been met. For a variance, this is a little different than when you vote on other matters as the town board. There'll be specific findings of fact that you'll have to make. For the findings of fact, your vote is a simple majority vote. Of course, right now, we have a quorum, we have 4 members, so a simple majority would be 3 of the 4 could vote to pass the findings of fact. However, the statute requires that if you have an affirmative finding of all those issues, the evidence, that we have to have a motion to approve the variance, and that requires a supermajority vote of 4 or 5 people. So being the fact we've got 4, all 4 of you will have to vote in favor of the variance in order for it to pass. The Board of Adjustment, you receive evidence, and this has to be sworn testimony. So I guess at this point in time, I'll look to who is here, okay? Sir, will you be given testimony?
Yes.
Will anybody else be given testimony? Okay, the Bible,
Right, to your right.
Besides you.
right here beside me. Would you step forward, please, sir? So, if you will, you place your left hand and raise your right hand. Left and raise your right. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. And would you state your name for the
My
record?
name is Dale Hardy.
Mr. Hardy, you can have a seat. Mr. Hardy will be with you in just a moment. So, that being the case, I'm going to now turn this over to Scott. Scott's done some of the background work on this variance request.
So the two requests are coming from the same individual, Mr. Hardy's mother-in-law, which is Edna Matthews, a Bethel resident. She owns two pieces of property, one at 197 Nelson Street, one at 191 Nelson Street. They're adjacent to each other. And basically at 197 Nelson Street, the lot line goes through the middle of the house. And in terms of them being able to subdivide this and have it where they can sell one or both properties, that lot line issue had to be resolved. So they moved the lot line toward 191 Nelson Street, which then created an issue of a side yard setback of 9.4 feet instead of 12 feet.
Have we got some maps?
Have it in your packet?
I'm sorry, I'm gonna come to the meeting in a minute.
Last page of
It's
your
on the
packet?
last page.
Okay, last page,
Last
okay,
page.
thank you. I'm sorry,
It's the two cinder block houses.
yeah, I know where they are.
So on the corner of Whitehurst Street and Nelson Street, the first house is 191, they're on the corner. You now will be creating a parcel that's less than 15,000 square feet. It'll be 11,250 square feet. So the first variance is a lot size less than 15,000 square feet. The adjoining parcel, of which you're adding 3,750 feet, actually makes that parcel 15,000 square feet, but the side yard setback, you can see it's only 9 feet, 4 inches rather than 12 feet. So this is the request to ask the Board of Adjustment to consider these two variances. And the first, in terms of tax parcel ID, the tax parcel ID on 197 Nelson Street is 14378, and the tax parcel ID on 191 is 14377.
That's correct. Any questions for staff about what we're looking at here with these? And I'll say procedurally, we have to have two separate hearings, but we're talking about two properties beside each other. So if you got a question about either, now is a good time to ask. Yes, sir. Mr. Blunt, did you have a question?
Yeah, I did. What is this, an error? Originally, the house was built on the wrong lot?
He's going to give some testimony in
Okay.
just a moment when we.
Well, I built them on the wrong lot, so I can sympathize with you. But anyway, okay, it just, but you're trying to separate the two lots so you can sell them as individual parcels. Makes sense.
That's right. And when you move that line over,
You don't quite have enough land
we
to
don't
make
have,
two lots.
don't have 12 feet for the first variance. We got 9.4. So, any other questions for staff? And we'll open the public hearing right after that if there are none. Okay. Mayor, that being the case, would you open the public hearing, please?
Okay,
And this is on the first variance request is for the side yard setback at 9.4 feet.
okay. At this time, the public hearing is now open. You've heard the request of the setback for the first variance there on Nelson Street. And you heard the testimony of the manager and reps, also of the attorney. So at this time, do we have a motion to be,
Mayor, I think you would like to ask
Mr.
Mr.
Hardy,
Hardy.
if you can come forth with your testimony
Yeah.
You'll go to the
You
podium.
Step up to the
to the
podium.
podium?
So I'm here representing Edna Ruth Matthews. I'm her son-in-law, and I will tell you, my wife would be here, but she works for the public school system in Winona County, and she's at another meeting tonight, so Edna Ruth's daughter could not be here. But These houses were built around 1960, and we were preparing these houses, getting ready to sell, and we discovered that the lot line runs directly through one of the houses. So one lot is 100 foot across on Nelson Street, and adjacent to it, the other lot is 75 as it currently is in place. And what we're asking to do really is to reverse those, and then that resolves the property line from going through the house. And that, either way, I think it really brings it more into compliance with this, because then you don't have a property line running through a house. And anyway, that's really, Edna Ruth really doesn't know what happened. She's 95, and she gets a little confused sometimes, but I've talked to her, and she was really, just didn't understand why there was a problem at all. So that's all I can tell you, is that, you know, she and her husband Eddie, who died in 2017, had people build those houses, surveyors and builders to do this for them. And I can't tell you what actually occurred
I can tell you what.
65 years ago.
I knew Eddie. He tried to save $100. No, really, I guarantee you. Have we got a big map of this so we can identify the map, the full-size map?
I got
Is
it.
this recorded map?
Pardon?
Not-
Mr.
I'm gonna make you a motion. I need a map to make a motion from,
We do not have a.
so we can reference.
What we're gonna do, once the hearing's over.
Okay.
We'll have a vote and walk through there's an order here, and you'll
Okay,
approve all the
okay.
findings of fact, so we'll help you right through it.
Okay.
Sir, is anything else that you?
No, that's essentially what we're
Okay.
asking to do.
Is there any questions
From the
for the witness? Any questions? Okay. I believe you said anybody else gonna be testifying?
No, that's all.
Okay. So Mayor, thank you. We will look for those that want to speak in favor and those against, see if anybody else wants to speak.
Okay, is there anyone else want to speak?
And
Okay.
we don't have any neighbors that oppose this.
We,
It's been advertised,
it's-
signed in the front
it-
yard.
and
We've
all
had,
the,
we've had 5 or 6 people call in about it, because we did post it on both properties, and we explained to them what's going on. I believe they were satisfied.
Yeah.
and we mailed to all adjacent property owners and posted on the property. So, anybody else who'd like to speak? Okay, if none,
I would say do it, because otherwise we got 2 empty houses that can.
She needs to be sworn in.
Could you,
yeah.
I'm just
could you stand up and,
I think she's giving an opinion, but
If you can give your name, please.
So Cassandra Conger. And I say that, I don't see any reason why this wouldn't be approved, because like I said, otherwise we end up with 2 more empty houses sitting there. Nobody wants a house that the property line goes through, so I think it would be stupid to even say no.
any question for Ms. Conger? If not, thank you.
if there's nobody else, you can close the public hearing.
Okay. At this time, the public hearing is now closed.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor. So again, this is just on the first variance application. I don't think there's if there's any questions for staff, we'll be glad to answer for the board. If not, then I'll walk you through the process. I think you have before you an order. They have a copy of the order at their seat. Okay. So these orders are almost identical. It's just at the top has a different address, but the address for this one is the 197 Nelson Street, parcel 14378. And to get that in front of you, I'm going to read it, but you can sort of follow along with me. So,
We actually did not provide a copy of the order, because we didn't want to assume
okay.
the findings in the order were what they would find.
Uh,
That was just a draft.
Okay. Well, I'll read it to you then, but there's three basic findings that you have to approve for us to move forward. So, this is on the order that ultimately will be signed if you approve tonight, and I'll just read it to you. So, condition or finding number 1 says that the application filed as a variance application for the property listed above meets all the required conditions and specifications of the zoning ordinance and policies of the town for the submission of a variance application. And I will tell you that it does, but if you have any questions for me, please ask. Otherwise, I need a motion to approve that finding.
So moved.
Okay.
Okay. Motion made by Commissioner Blunt. Any discussion? If there's no further discussion, all
Yeah, that's,
all in favor by raising your right hand?
okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor.
Any opposed?
Mr. Mayor, I will, because I just walk in, abstain.
Okay.
I don't know what was talked about, no reason to go over it.
We need to vote. What we could do, since,
We're gonna have four.
yeah, let's take the vote on this, and so we had 4 in favor and none against.
And none against.
And I think because, and Mr. White has a very good point, he's missed the evidence that's given. But because he's here, if the board could vote to allow him to not vote, that will remove any question about that for him. So just have a motion to allow him not to vote on this matter.
Do I have a motion from the board? Okay, motion made by Mayor Pro Temp Bynum that, Commissioner Whitehurst abstained from voting.
Okay. Thank you. Now, finding of fact number 2, that those persons owning property adjacent to the proposed development or use as listed on the current tax records were served notice of the public hearing by mail in accordance with applicable requirements. Everybody was mailed notice. I need a motion to approve that.
Do I have a motion made by Commissioner Lilly? Any further discussion? If there's no further discussion, let it be known by your voting sign. Okay, and at this time, do I have a motion to have Commissioner Whitehurst abstain from voting?
So moved.
Well, he's here, he can vote on it now,
Well,
but he doesn't.
I don't know what I'm
he-
voting
he don't
on,
know what
sir.
he's voting on.
he's going to be allowed to not vote on this first matter. I think we had a motion before. I'm not 100%
We did.
sure we had the vote. Did we have a vote on him being?
Yes,
Yeah.
Okay, was it 4-0?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay, so now we've got 2 of our findings of fact done. We're down to the last one, and I'll read this to you. When unnecessary hardships would result from carrying out of the strict letter of a zoning regulation, the Board of Adjustment shall vary any of the provisions of the zoning regulation shown upon showing of all of the following. And there's 4. Statute requires that we vote on each. So the first one is that there's an unnecessary hardship would result from the strict application of the ordinance. A motion to
Motion.
that effect? Okay.
motion made by Commissioner Lilly. Is there any discussion? If there's no further discussion, let all those in favor, let it be known by your voting sign.
Okay,
Motion carried.
thank you. Number 2, the hardship results from conditions that are peculiar to the property. Need a motion to,
Okay,
the
can we have-
hardship result.
Motion made by Commissioner Lilly. Any discussion? If there's no further discussion, all in favor, by let it be known by your voting sign by raising your right hand. Any opposed? Motion carried.
All right, number 3, the hardship is not a self-created hardship.
Okay, can we have a motion?
Motion.
Motion made by Commissioner Lilly. Any discussion? If there's no further discussion, all in favor by letting it be known by your voting sign by raising your right hand. Okay.
Thank you.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
All right, very last one, the requested variance is consistent with the spirit, purpose, and intent of the ordinance such that public safety is secured and substantial justice is achieved.
Can we have a motion?
Motion.
Motion made by Commissioner Lilly. Any discussion? If there's no further discussion, all in favor, let it be known by your voting sign by raising your right hand. Any opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, now we have approved all the findings of fact. The very last issue is that we need a motion to now actually approve the granting of the variance.
So moved.
Okay, motion made by Commissioner Blunt. Any discussion? If there's no further discussion, all in favor, let it be known by your voting sign by raising your right hand.
Okay.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Now that took care of the first variance. We've got another variance. I'm not gonna go over the background information again. It's sort of the same procedure, except this one relates to the square footage of the lot. Did you want to talk a little bit, just sort of set the stage of that?
Again, this is the adjacent lot, and this will be 191 Nelson Street. And again, the lot size is 11,250 square feet compared to ordinance requires a 15,000 square foot lot. Since we're adding the square footage to the adjacent lot where you just approved the variance on, you need to consider a variance for this lot 2 at 11,250.
Mr. Whitehurst, we had one gentleman who testified before you came in. You didn't get a chance to hear that. His testimony will relate to both variances. Would you like for him to testify again so that you could vote on the second, or would you ask him to excuse you from the second
Would you
vote?
please excuse me, sir?
Okay. You voted to excuse him. I don't think the vote was the vote tied to the first variance?
Yes.
Okay. Could I have another motion to excuse him for the
Motion.
second variance? Okay, we've got a motion.
Okay, motion made by Commissioner Lilly that Commissioner Whitehurst be excused from the voting. If there's no further discussion, all in favor by raising your right hand. Okay. Any opposed? Motion carried.
Okay. So, again, proper notice was given. This is a variance that relates to the size of the lot. Your ordinance requires 15,000 square feet, and this one is 11,250 square feet. We've already had the testimony given. Mayor, if you're inclined, would you open the public hearing to see if anybody else wants to speak?
At this time, the public hearing for the second variance is now open. Is there anyone that wish to speak?
If none, you can close the public hearing.
Okay. If there's none at this time that wish to speak, the public hearing is now closed.
And I would submit that the testimony given by, I'm sorry, your last name? Hardy. Mr. Hardy would be relative to this, so that testimony would work for this hearing also. So we're back to the reading of the order again, so I'm gonna walk right through these. I'll do it a little quicker. They're basically the same findings of fact that we just had. The first one states that the application filed as a variance application for the property listed above meets all the required conditions and specifications of the zoning ordinance and policies of towns for a submission of a variance application. Just need a motion to approve that.
Motion.
Okay.
Motion made by Commissioner Lilly. Any discussion? If there's no further discussion, all in favor, let it be known by your voting sign by raising your right hand. Any opposed? Motion carried.
Number two, that those persons owning property adjacent to the proposed development or use as listed on the current tax records were served a notice of the public hearing by mail in accordance with applicable requirements.
Okay, our motion made by Mayor Pro Temp Bynum. Any discussion? If there's no further discussion, all in favor by letting it be known by your voting sign by raising your right hand. Any opposed? Motion carried.
And then down to the last group, when unnecessary hardships were result from carrying out the strict letter of the zoning regulation, the Board of Adjustment shall vary any of the provisions of the zoning regulation upon the showing all of the following. Number one, an unnecessary hardship results from the strict application of the ordinance.
Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion made by Mayor Pro Temp Bynum. Any discussion? If there's no further discussion, all in favor by letting it be known by raising your right hand. Any opposed? Motion carried.
Number two, the hardship results from conditions that are peculiar to the property.
So moved.
Motion made by Commissioner Bynum. Any discussion? If there's no further discussion, all in favor by raising your right hand. Any opposed? Motion carried.
Number three, the hardship is not a self-created hardship.
Okay, you've heard the third. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion made by Commissioner Lilly. Any discussion? If there's no further discussion, let it be known by your voting sign by raising your right hand. Any opposed? Motion carried.
And the last finding, the requested variance is consistent with the spirit, purpose, and intent of the ordinance, such that public safety is secured and substantial justice is achieved.
You heard the last finding. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion made by Commissioner Bynum. Any discussion? If there's no further discussion, all in favor, let it be known by your voting sign by raising your right hand. Any opposed? Motion carried.
The very last then is we need a motion to actually approve the granting of the variance.
So moved.
Motion made by Commissioner Blunt. Any discussion? If there's no further discussion, all in favor, but let it be known by your voting sign by raising your right hand. Any opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you, Mayor. I think that concludes everything with the Board of Adjustment hearing.
Okay. At this time, do I have a motion to adjourn from the Board of Adjustment?
Motion.
Motion made by Commissioner Liddy. All in favor by raising your right hand. The public hearing, Board of Adjustment is now closed. At this time, we will go into our regular monthly meeting session. At this time, I would ask the board to look in their packet, to see if there's anything unethical or immoral in the packet. We'll take just a few minutes to look through. I know you got kind of a thick packet today. Okay, if there's nothing that's in the packet that seemed to appear as unethical or immoral, at this time, I do now call this meeting to order, and we have a roll call. Commissioner Blunt?
Here.
Commissioner Lilly?
Here.
Commissioner Bynum?
Here.
Commissioner Whitehurst?
Here.
Commissioner Staden?
Here.
We do have a quorum. At this time, we're gonna ask Reverend Jones if he'll lead us in our invocation.
Let us pray. Our Father and our God, we are grateful today for your blessings, for waking us up, allowing us to see another day. Thank you, Lord, for bringing us here for this Board of Commissioners meeting to discuss the town of Bethel. We pray that everything will go well according to your plan. Thank you for those, Lord, who are elected to serve. And we just pray that you will just continue to bless this town. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
At this time, we're gonna ask all that can and will do our pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we thank Pastor Jones for leading us in the invocation. The next thing on our agenda to claim our attention will be the consent agenda from the minutes from our regular meeting. And
Mr. Mayor,
Oh.
we're asking the minutes be continued till next month. There are a few corrections we need to make to those.
okay, can I have a motion that we delay till the corrections are made to our next month's meeting?
So moved.
Motion made by Commissioner Staden. Any discussion? If there's no further discussion, all in favor, let it be known by your voting sign by raising your right hand. Any opposed? Motion carried. All right. Next, to claim our attention is item F, the public comments. And our public comments provides an opportunity for residents to comment on any item included on the agenda or to address the town board on any matter related to the town of Bethel. Comments are limited to 5 minutes. Did we have anyone signed up for public comments? Madam Clerk, did we have anybody sign up for public comments? Okay. All right. Next, we'll move to item G, presentation. At this time, we're gonna ask Ms. Hayden, Felicia Hayden. She is not. Okay, Ms. Hayden is not here. Okay. At this time, we're gonna ask Miss Denise Great to, if you would come to the podium and state your name. Yes.
Okay, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. My name is Denise Great, and I would say that I was from the Veteran Administration, but right now I'm here on my own because of some situations. So I work with suicide prevention. And I'm a veteran. I'm a Marine Corps veteran, 7.5 years, a helicopter electrician, and I have 2 active duty sons. We promote suicide prevention in the community as well as gun safety. 22 veterans per day are lost by suicide. And I don't know how many civilians are lost. I can't give you that number, but we try to basically prevent those suicides by one thing is passing out gun locks and educating the public on prevention measures. Now, if you have someone in crisis, we do provide SAVE training. SAVE training is for anyone that deals with the public. That's your firefighters, your police officers, anyone on this board, anybody that deals with the public needs to really go through a SAVE training. And SAVE training basically teaches the public or anyone how to deal with someone that may be suicidal or in crisis. Now, we also have the crisis line. And does anybody know what the crisis line number is? 988.
Yeah, 988.
988 is the universal crisis line. It's just not for veterans. It's for anybody. And it's not just if you're in crisis at that time. If you're going through something and you need somebody to talk to, call the crisis line, which is 988. That's to help you prevent you getting into crisis. And it's always somebody there 24/7, 365 days of the year. There's someone on that line to talk to you and to get you the help that you need. Now, while I'm here today, I have a lot of stuff in this bag.
You can leave with the clerk.
Huh?
You can leave with the clerks.
Okay, so I'm gonna leave it with the clerks. So when I leave, I have a lot of information dealing with PTSD. We have a lot of veterans that one reason they call the crisis line is because they're suffering from PTSD. They've been through a traumatic event and it has affected them. Not just veterans, but we also have the public that suffer from PTSD. It could have been traumatic. They were in a car accident. Anything traumatic that they experienced could cause them to have PTSD. So I have information here to help identify PTSD, and also it gives them some ideas of treatment for PTSD, because we know that's a big factor when it comes to suicide. I also have some information here dealing with gun safety. I don't know how many minutes I got. 5. Okay.
Well, you're down to about 2 now.
I really don't like this man. Okay, so I usually deal with suicide. So does anybody experience this? A lot of people that once they commit suicide, is usually 100 people around that person that is affected by suicide. I am one of those people. My uncle committed suicide, and I work for suicide prevention. So I have a big family: the Best, the Cherries, the Councils, and the Ellison right here in Bethel. Those are my family members. So we deal with that. So I'm telling you, if you see somebody in crisis, if you know somebody in crisis, to pass on and help them find that 988 number. 988. And the one thing is you never leave them. If you know somebody's going through a hard time, be there by their side, help them get the right help that they need, but never leave their side. Because loneliness is a big issue. It's a big issue with our veterans as well as the public. So if you see someone in crisis, don't leave them. Call the 988 number. If you need to, you can call your rescue squad that should or would be trained and saved to help deal with that person in crisis so they won't do the ultimate. Because you know suicide is a permanent fix for something that's temporary. So anybody got any questions for me? I could go on and on and on because I am a talker.
I do. The first, what did you say that, God, when you first, the program that you said
I
everybody
work with
needed,
suicide prevention.
that everyone need to take.
And SAVE.
SAVE, that's it,
It's
that's
called
it.
SAVE. And SAVE is a class that they give, and it teaches people how to talk, how to bring somebody down off of that, how to deal with somebody that may be suicidal, or someone that might be in crisis, to talk them down. Because I'm telling you, I've been there, I've
Yes.
had to talk somebody down, and the one thing they'll tell is don't call the police. They'll tell you right off, don't call the police.
So when is that class offered?
We provide that class.
Okay,
Now, I have my cards in here for me and Ms. Clee. Ms. Clee is the suicide prevention coordinator for the VA for Greenville, and she provides the SAVE classes. And we give SAVE classes anywhere. We do them in schools, we do them in churches, we do it for the Boy Scouts, the Girl Scouts, whoever. We do it for anybody and everybody that's asking. And we come out and speak to anybody, well, things have changed. So when I say that, I mean, the process has changed recently, and so we have to get an okay to come out, but we still do that training, SAVE training, for anybody and everybody that might need it. And it doesn't matter if you're a veteran, civilian, it does not matter. We're here. I'm gonna leave my phone number with my card. I have a lot of stuff in there. I'm gonna leave it over here with the clerks.
yes,
And the clerk's gonna pass it out to anybody, everybody that needs something. Everybody all right with that?
yes.
All right.
All right.
Anybody have any questions for me?
Well, I think that's some very good information because, you have a lot of, matter of fact, I just knew someone that their 31-year-old son committed suicide, just this past weekend. And, so it's good information that you have, and I feel that you need to know it.
Yeah, I totally agree. As I said, it doesn't just touch that family member, it spreads out.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, one person commits suicide, 100 people feel it.
Yes.
100 people feel it. So, y'all need me, I'm gonna leave my card there, it's my cell number, you can give me a call if you have any questions, any concerns, or you need anything from me. Now, I work from 8 o'clock to 4:30. Now, I'm gonna repeat that. I work from 8 o'clock to 4:30, and during that time, you can always get a hold of me, unless I'm in a meeting dealing with somebody else, but I'll return that call. But, if you need me to come speak somewhere, Pastor, I will be glad to come out there.
What do you mean, 8 and 4:30?
Well, no, now, if you want me to come out, like, I have gone to churches and spoke. I go to church on Sunday, I go to church on Saturdays, I go on Wednesdays, I go on Thursdays. If you need me, I'll come. Just give me a call and let me know.
Are there any other questions for Ms. Gray?
Thank you for being here.
That's good.
Thank you for coming.
Anytime y'all need me. And I just bought a house up the street not too far from here.
All right.
So anytime y'all need me, just give me a call. I'm leaving with the clerk.
All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you all for having me.
Thank you.
All right.
That sounds.
Next, we'll move to item H, our old business, Smith Street Park. I'll now turn it over to our manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a quick note on the Smith Street Park. The town did submit the part of application to the state. It's the Parks and Recreation Trust Fund application. Anticipating, hoping to get a $450,000 match for $450,000 of monies we cobbled together. One note I do have to make about the application process. We learned that our $450,000, we couldn't spend any of it until we learn whether we are granted the additional $450 in part of funds. So the playground equipment that you considered at your last month's meeting, we're gonna have to delay that, because if we did go ahead and prove that and sign that contract, we couldn't have taken credit for that in the part of application. So we'll still be getting the playground equipment, but we need to let this part of application, we should hear, I think, summer is what we're hearing, summer, fall, and hopefully we'll be able to pull the trigger and do the whole thing as we did have a follow-up meeting at Camille's office. We had about 20-plus people, 22 people, that we talked about the park plan. We were trying to check another box on that application for community involvement. And I think that helped, as well as the public input meeting we had here on April 15th. So that's all I had to report.
Any question for the manager in reference to Smith Street Park? Okay, if not, next to claim our attention will be item I, new business, with the CBDG deed of trust cancellation.
So on this item, the town had a house, or has a house at 147 Martin Street that went through rehabilitation through CDBG, Community Development Block Grant Funds. And this house has ran the course in terms of the number of years the occupant needed to remain in the house or own the house. And the deed of trust needed to be canceled because they were trying to sell the house. The town attorney contacted me regarding having the mayor sign the satisfaction of security instrument that would release the the conditions on the house where it couldn't be sold. Normally, we would bring this to you and have you approve it, but because the closing was scheduled soon thereafter, we went ahead and had the mayor sign this and come and beg forgiveness from you if you don't approve it. But it's already been approved, but we would like you to just make a motion to put in the records that this has been accepted. The town attorney has checked off on all this and is in agreement.
That's correct. The deed of trust was from 2004, had an 8-year. The deed of trust was from 2004, had an 8-year recapture period. The property was sold 18 years later, so all the conditions were met for it to be canceled. And I did prepare the cancellation statement for the mayor's signature.
Okay, any question for the manager or the attorney? If no question for the manager or attorney, do I have a motion to approve the cancellation of the deed of trust for 147 Martin Street?
Motion.
Motion made by Commissioner Lilly. Any discussion? If there's no further discussion, all in favor by letting it be known by raising your right hand. Okay. Any opposed? Motion carried. Okay. Next item to claim our attention will be our budget/financial matters.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have one budget amendment. This actually was referenced in the last meeting where Dominion Power has proposed to replace all of our streetlights with LED, those ones that are not LED. This $30,000 is just to memorialize this, to show we've moved this money. And actually, we had Dominion in town this week. They're doing a survey of those poles that have the remaining lights that need to be changed. So we're anticipating hopefully that project will get kicked off soon.
Any question for the manager? If there's no question, motion to approve the budget amendment 15 as submitted. If there's no discussion, if there's no further discussion, all in favor by letting it be known by your voting sign, by raising your right hand.
Was there a motion on that?
Yes. Can I have a motion?
Motion.
Okay, motion made by Commissioner Whitehurst. And all in favor by raising your right hand. Okay. Commissioner Liddy?
Oh, I raised it.
Okay, hold them up so we can see who. Okay, all right. Any opposed? Motion carried unanimous. All right. Next, the third item on item I, presentation regarding replacement of housing and subdivision ordinance administration.
Mr. Mayor, we have Jonas Hill in the audience tonight. He's the planning director for Pitt County and would like to make a good news announcement regarding replacement housing and also the possibility of the county assisting the town with subdivision ordinance administration.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor,
Good evening.
members of the board, town manager, I almost say county manager. Good to be in Bethel tonight to give you an update. Scott had reached out to me to ask me to come down and give an update on our replacement housing that's going on. It impacts Bethel substantially, I feel like. As Scott said, hopefully you'll see it as a good news item. Just to give you a little background on our housing program at Pitt County, we started administration of our housing program in-house within the planning department back in 2003. And we seek funds from various different agencies within the state. The Department of Commerce, Scott, and you guys just dealt with the cancellation of a CDBG deed of trust that was on a home. So we have utilized those funds as well through the county over the years. We also rely heavily on the North Carolina Housing Finance Agency. They have a pot of funds every year for 2 different programs to assist people with making repairs to their homes. So we tap into them. And then last but not least, we partner with the USDA rural development folks who have grant monies available as well. So over the course of time since 2003, we have administered just slightly over 300 home repairs and replacements. We have spent right at $5.6 million in Pitt County for housing repairs through these programs over those 22 years that we've been doing this, with the average cost being about $19,500 per unit on that. we serve, the county serves every municipality and area outside of the city of Greenville. Okay, so city of Greenville does not qualify for our funding. They have their own share of funds, but any small town in the county, in Pitt County, we serve. So any resident that has those needs, we can serve through our office. More recently, we received the American Rescue Plan Act dollars. That was the result of COVID, money that came down from the federal government. Our Board of Commissioners at Pitt County obligated $1.9 million towards our housing program for some needs that were unmet. The housing programs that we tapped into couldn't meet the needs that the residents had. We're very grateful for those, and as in turn, we adopted a assistance policy on how we were going to go about distributing these funds for housing. That assistance policy said that anyone that was on our current list could be served through these funds. We agreed that the biggest need is replacement housing. Okay, a lot of the funding that we get for the county only is allowed for rehabilitation of homes. So if you got a sagging floor or a leaking roof, we could go in and we could make those repairs. What we were finding, we had a lot of homes that we could go in and we could replace the roof, we could fix the floor, we could replace some plumbing, but that didn't address all of the needs that that home had. It was like putting a Band-Aid on a laceration, you know, where your arm's cut off and you're trying to stick a Band-Aid on it. It's not going to address the full needs. So we're very grateful. Some of the requirements that the applicants have to meet is they have to either be one of the following: 62 or older, disabled, a veteran, a single parent, a large household consisting of 5 or more family members living in the same dwelling, or have children below the age of 6 years old with a high lead blood level. Through this process, we selected 8 homes throughout Pitt County to be replaced. Housing is not cheap right now. That was the downfall. So we couldn't serve as many as we anticipated, but we were able to select 8 to be served. We went out for bid, and to date, we've ordered 6 of the 8 houses to be replaced. The first is here in Bethel. It is located on James Street. The house has already been demolished. Some of y'all that travel that area may have seen the house came down. The footings, I think, went in recently within the last week or two, and we are waiting for the home to be delivered and set up. What we did in an effort to minimize the impacts to the homeowners is, instead of having a contractor come in and build a site-built home, we contracted with a modular home dealer here in town to construct an off-frame modular. So there's debate that off-frame modulars may even be better than site-built homes as far as the quality goes, because they are built in a controlled environment and not subject to the weather as they're being constructed out in the natural elements. So we've had good success with off-frame modulars, and hopefully we'll continue to have that good success. So we demolished the home. The manufactured home or modular dealer is able to bring in a crane, set the home on the foundation, and it's built with the same type of materials that a site-built home would be built, and it shortens that time that the family is displaced from their living situations. There's a process that we have to go through in order to make sure that the applicants can be served. We have to make sure that they hold clear title to the home, and they have to sign all the legal documents associated with that. So, as I mentioned, a lot of activity here in Bethel for replacement housing. I think there's 4 of the 8 homes are located here in Bethel that we're going to replace. So We recognize that housing is a issue here in Bethel. As I said, we serve anyone outside of Greenville, the city of Greenville, within the county's jurisdiction, and 4 of those 8 homes that we're replacing are located here in Bethel. So definitely, and actually the 5th home is located just south of North Pitt, so in this general area. So we have actually 2 on James Street, the one that has already been torn down, and one almost adjacent across the street that will be slated for replacement as well. We also have one on Crawford Street, and then our last one here in Bethel is on Ive Street that we'll get to. We also identified 15 houses that were in need of repairs, and we plan and have already started making the repairs to those homes. I think out of the 15, there's only one here in Bethel that we're actually using the ARPA funding for the repairs. As I mentioned, we have funding for a repair program that we rely on heavily. This ARPA funds we could go in and make some much needed repairs in a more quick time period, and we could address more concerns through this money than the grant would allow through some of our other programs. So we tried to find the matches that their needs exceeded the grant dollars that we typically get, or we couldn't address an item through the grant that we could address with this repair money through ARPA. So all good news items. Some of those repairs that we're seeing that we're addressing through these ARPA funds we're seeing a lot of houses that have the pipes under the house, the sewage pipes that have become disconnected. So sewage is leaking onto the crawl space in the foundation. So we're doing a lot of replacement there. Roofs, we're replacing a lot of roofs through that program, as well as the heating and air. Heating and air, I don't know if any of y'all have been unfortunate and had to get an air conditioning unit put in lately, but the prices are outrageous. They've really gone up, the materials and everything, and they're changing the Freon requirements in these systems that are really jacking up the prices. So these funds allowed us to address some heating and cooling concerns for people who haven't had good heating and air systems for quite some time. Also, as I mentioned, we do a lot of floor repairs due to leaks that have gone unfixed and caused the floor to rot. So all said, those are some of the items that we're addressing. As I mentioned, Bethel is getting a lot of attention through this program, and we're glad to be able to help improve the housing quality up here in Bethel. As a side note, but very much related, once a year we hold an informational session on how people can get help in making repairs to their home. The date for our session this year is July 31st, which is a Thursday. It's going to be held at the Pitt County Agricultural Center in the Mark Owens Auditorium, and we hold 2 sessions. One of them is at 10 a.m. The second one is at 6 p.m. Anyone is welcome to attend either session. The only caveat is, in order to receive assistance, you have to attend one of these sessions, and they're only held once a year. We currently have a good bit of people on our waiting list, so this process is not quick. If you go this year, don't expect to have your home repaired within a year. We typically have about a 3-year wait time for people to be served. However, the ARPA money, those replacement houses, the 15 repair sites that we're working on are moving those people off of that wait list, which will free up space for other individuals. So if you know anybody that has some housing concerns, if they're elderly, they don't necessarily have to go, but someone closely related needs to go and represent them, okay? So if they have any questions, feel free to have them contact our office. We'll be glad to talk with them, and take them through that process. So my number, if you want to jot it down, is 252-902-3250. And we'll be glad to help anyone that is in need of help. So any questions as far as the replacement housing or repair projects that we have going on? So there are certain requirements that you do have to meet in order to qualify. Again, you have to be 62 or older, disabled. You have to be a veteran that was honorably discharged, a single parent with children still living in the home, a large household which consists of 5 or more family members living in the same house, or have a child with an elevated lead blood level. Absolutely. You just have to meet one of those requirements, not all of them, just one. Yep.
What if a person is disabled and not 62?
They qualify. So if you're on disability, that's your qualifier.
And you did say single parents?
Single parents, yes, ma'am. Yep. The date again is Thursday, July the 31st at 10 o'clock a.m. or 6 o'clock p.m. at the Pitt County Agricultural Center, which is just adjacent to the health department and in the rear of the detention center at Government Circle. 403 Government Circle is the address.
So do they have to own their home?
Yes, that is another stipulation. You do have to own your home. Does not mean that you don't have a mortgage payment or anything like that, but you have to be listed as the owner of the home, and you have to occupy the home. So one of the things that we cannot do is if you own a home, it's dilapidated, you're not living in it, we can't go in and fix it so that you can move into it. You have to currently be living in the home.
Does every owner, can only one owner of the house come, or do, like?
No, anyone can come. You can have,
What I mean is like, for one of those 5 stipulations, a person has to come, it can just be one person that owns the house, like multiple people own the house?
yes, just one person. Yeah, just one representative. Absolutely. What we do is we go over the stipulations. We get real down in the weeds. There's a lot of legal documents that we have to collect from applicants. So we go over how to get those documents, how to complete the application. These requirements also are income-based, plays a factor into it. So we have to get, as I tell people that attend these sessions, we get real personal. We get all up in your personal business, but that's a requirement of the grants. We have to make sure you qualify to move forward. So we start a real good relationship, and hopefully we end it with a nicer home than what you're living in. Yes, ma'am.
I attended the session
Mhm.
one year, and it took, like you said, about 3 years for me to have my roof put on my house.
Absolutely. Yep. And we base, just for everybody's knowledge, it doesn't matter how long you've been on the list. We address the most severe needs first. It's needs-based. So we have people that come, they might have a draft coming in their front door or around their windows. But then we got people with holes in their floor, or it's raining through the roof when it rains. Well, that draft is not as severe as that water coming in your home or that hole in your floor. So we try to address the more severe needs first.
Okay, are there any other questions from the board for Mr. Hill?
July 31st, 10 a.m. or 6 p.m. And Mr. Mayor, if I could, I'll move right into the next item that Scott had mentioned, and that's the administration of the subdivision ordinance by the county for the town of Bethel. The manager has reached out to me, and asked if the county would be interested in assisting with the administration of the subdivision ordinance for the town. And we do have experience through the planning department in doing this for other municipalities throughout Pitt County. And currently, we administer and have since 1992 our subdivision ordinance for the village of Simpson. Since 1995, we've administered it for the town of Falkland, and since 2000, we've administered the subdivision ordinance for the town of Grimesland. So we've got a lot of experience in administering our subdivision ordinances for smaller towns, and we'll be happy to assist if the board so chooses. Our subdivision ordinance was adopted in 1972. Throughout the years, we've had multiple revisions to that ordinance to keep it current and up to date. The biggest revision that we probably had in my tenure with the county was probably 2 years ago as a result of the legislature making amendments to 160D in the state statutes, which pertains to subdivision and zoning regulations. So we have gone through that. We are compliant with state regulations and have that in place. The process is pretty simple. From an administration standpoint, we require a preliminary plat. If it's a minor, meaning 9 lots or less, it's approved by staff. If it's more than 9 lots, it's approved by our technical review committee. After it's approved, we have a construction process that we review the construction plans, approve them. The developer makes the improvements if it involves any roads, sidewalks, that sort of thing. And then once he's got that in place, we record the final plat. So pretty simple process. The rules are established, and there's no room for any subjectivity. Either you meet the standards and move forward, or you don't. So what I've done is I've forwarded your town manager our ordinance, along with staff has done a review of the town of Bethel's current subdivision ordinance. There are some items that are addressed in the town's ordinance that the county's ordinance would not address. And one of the stipulations that we have, if we were to enter into an agreement, would be that our ordinance would be adopted by the town, and that would be the ordinance that we enforce. So we wouldn't tailor it any different than we do for the county residents and the other towns that we enforce. So I've gone through that ordinance and provided some items that aren't addressed, such as the county does not have sewer. Town of Bethel's ordinance requires that if sewer is in close proximity, that the developer has to tap into the sewer. That would be something that the town would have to come up with a mechanism to enforce if they want to continue with that. What I will tell you is, while we will enforce the subdivision regulations for the town, we will also be in close relationship with the town, and any subdivision plat that we get submitted to our office, we will forward along to town staff to comment and review and comment on that particular plan. So we will coordinate with the town in doing that. So if the town is interested in moving forward, what we would need to do is both the county and the town would need to adopt an interlocal agreement and set an effective date for the repeal of the town's current subdivision ordinance, and also a date that the county would begin administering their ordinance. It's a pretty simple agreement, basically, not getting too far in the weeds, but any fees that are collected, the county would retain those fees for the service that we're providing by reviewing and coordinating the recordation of the plat. So any fees the county would keep, and we would just do it on behalf of the town. So I can provide the manager with an example of our current interlocal agreement for your attorney to review And if y'all have any questions, we can work those.
So Jonas, there's no cost to administrate this
There-
other than you keeping the fees?
That's correct. Good point. The county does not charge the town for administration of this subdivision ordinance. The only compensation we would get would be the current fees that we collect, for review of the plans. So it will be at no cost to the town. So with that, I'll ask if there are any questions.
Any question from the board in reference to all that we've heard in reference to the subdivision, or as far as the county, regarding the county administrating the subdivision ordinance for the town? Are there any questions?
One point I'll bring out is Jonas referenced 160D regulations and general statutes. We are not compliant with 160D at this point in time. As you're aware, the town's zoning ordinance is being rewritten by the Mid-East Commission to make us compliant. This would bring these two ordinances into compliance. Zoning would still be administrated locally here in the town. The county would not, doesn't even offer that service.
No.
So if the board's interested in further pursuing this, we could look at the interlocal and bring it back to you for consideration at a future date. But I would kind of like your input as to whether you think this is a good idea or not.
So Scott, kind of explain it to me a little bit more.
So the county would actually act as our staff in administering any subdivisions. Obviously, we have not had much subdivision activity. We have approved one 4-lot subdivision in the last 12 months since I've been here. You've got the large lot subdivision proposed by Mr. Brown that was proposed by others earlier that could feasibly still be in the future, and that is a large development. I believe that's several hundred different parcel lots,
Okay.
dwelling lots. I mean, that would be an immense help to have the county's help on that if and when that came about.
Okay, so they would be looking for, if we, bring in more houses and all.
They would be working with people who are wanting to divide land to be subdivided for the purpose of putting houses on. They would not be,
Okay.
they would
I
not
got
be
you, I got
recruiting builders to come into town to build houses.
Okay, sounds good.
I'd be opposed to the county taking over our subdivision law. I'll tell you why. Bethel's a unique situation, and if we turn this over to the county, it's one size fits all. I've been developing, dealing with the town of Greenville, don't know anything at all about, I'm sure the county's does a wonderful job. One of your selling points at Bethel, besides the proximity to all these jobs out here, to available land where somebody wants to develop, and I'm telling you, that's close. And Greenville Utilities wants to help provide, they've got this capacity to provide the sewer. But 40 years ago, if you went down to the city of Greenville, in fact, the lady over here in Bethel used to kind of run the day-to-day operation. Come on in, Mr. Blunt, what can we do to help you? What can we do to help you? We want to build some houses, we want to do this. Now you go over there, and it's what can we do to slow you down? What can we do to add cost to your project? And housing is crazy. I mean, housing's been up 25% in the last six months. Bethel, Greenville Utilities wants to help as much as they legally can, and they can't give you anything, but they can expedite the process. Just like the town of Bethel can't pay for any development. That's what the subdivision law. But what we can do is when people, just like tonight, this Board of Adjustments hearing we had, that was a common sense solution to a problem that if you live long enough, you're gonna deal with some of it. And if you keep your subdivision law locally owned, controlled by, what you're doing is you're ceding control of your subdivision law to the county. The county does a lot of good things, but I know y'all are gonna have some business down in Grimesland, because I know what's going on in Grimesland, I know what's going on in Simpson. You guys are gonna have enough just to keep up with all that down there. I would be totally against having outsiders come in here and if a developer comes in here and he gives us the flexibility to make it real simple. And then also, you know, the developers, they bypass this board, they go straight to the county, and then I think maybe we probably have to have some kind of final approval on that legally. But I mean, you're basically, you know, you're giving up part of your job and part of your control, and don't have good intentions, but I'm totally opposed.
Me personally, I feel that it's a good idea. We have Mr. Scott here that's gonna oversee things, and that's what has happened to Bethel down through the years. We have never tried anything new, and that's why the town is in the situation that it's in, because we never tried anything, and that's why it's dried up. It's nothing is here, because we have opposed everything that have wanted to come here down through the years, and as long as we got Mr. Scott here in overseeing things as our manager, to making sure that Bethel is in good standards, I mean, why not try it?
Is there any other questions? Any other comments from the board? Okay, guess we'll do a motion.
I guess the question is there a motion just to pursue exploring this in terms of looking at interlocal? Eventually it'll come back to you for up or down vote, yes or no. Tonight's not the night to say it's official or not official.
Just to discuss.
If you want us to explore it further, we can do that. If not, then we can put it to rest.
Mr. Elliott, I'd like to understand it better. I'm just a lawyer, and I don't build. I do appreciate what we have in Bethel, but I'd like to put both sides of this. Ms. Bynum's, Mr. Blunt's, and when it's over with, I'd like to feel satisfied I've taken the right step. I would like I mean, my position here would be, I'd like for us to talk among ourselves and figure out where are we going, rather than decide tonight to set this fellow on a path going forward.
We can do that, and like Jenna said, he's got a table that shows the differences between the town subdivision regs and the counties. I'd be happy to share that and do some more exploring on this. We can just kind of receive this as information and further consider it.
Absolutely, and one thing I want to point out to Mr. Blunt's point, you guys, you know, we're talking strictly about the subdivision ordinance, not your zoning ordinance. So your lot sizes, all of that will still be dictated by that zoning ordinance. We're strictly looking at the development of land, and the subdivision ordinance is heavily guided by the state legislation that gives us the power and authority to do that. So I feel like the town would still have some control over growth by setting those minimum lot size requirements, the zoning districts as to what commercial activity goes where. So all of that would still be in place and under the board's control. We would just serve more of a staff function for processing those subdivision plans as they come in. So, but yeah, Scott, I forwarded that comparison that kind of shows the differences or some things that we don't have in place. And if it's something that you want to continue to keep in place, your town manager and county attorney could probably find some means of incorporating those requirements into a zoning ordinance, for example, of the things that are not in our current subdivision ordinance. So I'll be happy to work with Scott and answer any questions that you guys might have for the county from our end. And if you guys decide to move forward, the county would be glad to assist. If not, trust me, we've got plenty of work to do on our own. So thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hill. Next to claim our attention is the preliminary fiscal year 25-26 budget review and town fund balance analysis. turn it over to our manager.
Thank you, Mayor. So tonight, just want to quickly review three things. Kind of the preliminary budget for the new year beginning July 1. A look at your town fund balance analysis. Then a third component we've got on the docket as part of this conversation is a fire truck consideration by the Bethel Fire Department. But let me pass these packets out to you and run through this. So as of today, as I know all the factors in the budget in terms of revenues and expenditures, the first piece of paper shows a pie chart of all of your revenues as projected. And this is pretty much, these numbers are pretty much, I won't say carved in stone, but they're pretty tight. Showing a total general fund revenues of $1,518,893. You can see the pie chart there showing that the largest portion of that is coming from sales tax. We fortunately, even though a lot of sales tax is not necessarily generated in the town of Bethel, because the way it is distributed in Pitt County, we get credit based upon all the sales activities in Pitt County. So you can see that piece of the pie. The second largest then is the ad valorem property tax that's broken out from everything else from motor vehicle taxes, solid waste, Powell bill dollars, fire district taxes, and so forth. So right now, all of this is pretty much looking good from that standpoint. The next pie chart shows expenditures as I know them as of today. Most of this is pretty much carved in stone. The only thing that I'm really waiting on, I've got a call this week from our insurance agent, Rook Insurance, regarding our insurance renewals for our different packages, whether vehicles, property, health insurance. Those are the only factors that I would need to tweak these numbers with. The budget is balanced. The expenditures as of today meet the same revenue target of $1,518,893. You can see in the pie chart how the different expenditures are divvied out.
Mr. Elliott, why is Sheriff's Department and law enforcement in two different pieces of this pie?
On the expenditure side,
On the expenditures, yes. I see Sheriff's Department 15%, law enforcement 26%. How is it that I'm sorry, I thought they're both law enforcement, so I don't understand how that got.
yeah, we had relabeled Sheriff's Department to law enforcement. Let me go back and look at that. That's a good question.
Okay.
Yeah, let me examine that.
That's way too much, something's wrong.
Yeah. On the next packet of information, you'll see in yellow, it's a multi-page document showing the budget ordinance that was adopted. On the left-hand column in the middle are the numbers from the July 1 budget of the current fiscal year ending June 30th. You can see in yellow the numbers that I'm projecting within the different revenue sources and then within the expenditures. Again, matching the $1,518,893. The last piece I have for you then is the actual breakout of each of the departments, whether it's the revenues or whether it's expenditures, whether you're looking at, again, with the revenues, whether property taxes, sales taxes, investment earnings, and so forth. Within the different departments, whether you're talking about the governing body, fire department, streets, recreation, cemetery operations, and so forth. And again, this budget is balanced again at that $1,518,893 number. The last piece on this preliminary budget that I want to present to you, the yellow piece of paper that's in your packet, is a fund balance analysis. So as we look at the town's fund balance, and the beginning part of that analysis begins with the last audit we have, and we're current and up to date on our audits. We will be doing the audit for June 30th of 2025 coming up. But right now, the audited number we have for fund balance, the beginning point is that top number on the page, $2,799,732. So that is what was revealed in the last completed audit. That is the most up-to-date audit the town has, and that is the most, again, up-to-date audit per se. If you look at our peer municipalities across North Carolina, they have a fund balance reserve of about 63%. So if we had a budget of about $1.5 million, 63% of that is $957. That is what I would propose that the town sets aside, a reserve that we keep on hand at all times in case an emergency were to come up. If, whether it's a hurricane, flooding, whatever that natural disaster could be, that we keep those numbers in place. And also, because sales tax and property taxes don't always come in even 1/12 increments, it helps us to meet payroll and other expenditures that the town may have. So the subtotal of that, when you started at almost $2.8 million, you're taking $957 away, that leaves a subtotal of available funds of $1,842,732, $1.8 million. To date, in this budget, there's a number of capital projects that you have approved: street paving at $321,000, demolition of structures $200,000, the Smith Street Park part of grant match $200,000, the stormwater study at $181,000. When you take all those away from the $1.8 million, you have a balance of $940,732. I will say one caveat of the dollars that we appropriated for street paving, that $321,000, because we've overcollected on property taxes, we've overcollected on sales taxes, and then within many of the different departmental areas, we have underspent. We probably won't need all that $321,000 of fund balance that we appropriated. So when we do the audit for June 30th of 2025, you're going to see more money come back to the fund balance position. I guess what I'm giving you is kind of a worst case scenario as the best case as we know today. And you see on the bottom there, I show future town capital needs / projects. So you have a $180,000 stormwater study that is nearing completion within the next couple of months. That'll come forward. The consultant, Rivers and Associates, is saying that probably to do even just the first phase of that, we're probably looking at $1 million. We were hoping to apply for state grant funds on that. I'm being told right now the state budget does not have money in it for stormwater needs. Most of the dollars obviously are going to the western part of the state to meet their needs. So probably, unless something changes, we have asked for a special appropriation outside and apart from grant funds through Representative Brown in the state budget process. I'm not sure if there's been any traction on that. If there is, that those monies could be used directly to implement stormwater. The second bullet there is the fire truck replacement for the 1997 International Pumper Tanker, which the chief and others are going to talk about in just a minute. That's $500,000. Street paving, obviously we did the first phase of street paving last year. If we did the next category, which would be the category called fair, as identified by NCDOT, that total of the fair category roads in the town of Bethel was $1.3 million. So you have $940,000, almost $941,000, as I know it today, to implement stormwater if there's no state funds, to buy a pumper tanker for the fire department, and to do street paving. So that's kind of a broad brush stroke of the budget picture for the new year in less than 10 minutes. So the question is, do you want to have a budget workshop to dive deeper into this? Honestly, there's not a lot of flexibility in here. You could make get some direction on specific things, but most of this is set unless we're going to have some major changes in how we operate the town. But you may want to hear from the fire chief and his folks about their fire engine first, pumper tanker, and then maybe get a feel for where you want to take this. Mayor?
Any questions for the manager? Okay, if there's no question for the manager in reference to this subject, we'll now move to our 2025 Power Bill.
The fire chief, I think, was wanting to discuss the pumper tanker as part of this presentation.
I was gonna talk about the other one first and then let him go ahead and do that.
Okay.
All right, I'm gonna stand up here. For the next 60 to 90 seconds, I would like the board to work with me a little bit. What I want you to do is I want y'all to picture, and every one of you have to picture except for Commissioner Blunt, because he's been in the fire department. For the next 60 to 90 seconds, what I want you to do, I want you to think you're a firefighter. All right, call goes off right now. We've got a structure fire fully involved. Okay, you jump in that truck, you put on your gear, you put on that air pack, you going in that house, you're there 2 or 3 hours. You're hot, you're sweaty, you're tired. You come out, take your air pack off, take your bottle off, replace your bottle, you go back in. You upped a couple times before you had to go to rehab. Okay, when this is all over with, and when we get through, we pack everything up and come back to the station. We do our cleaning for our hose or whatever we need to do to get the trucks ready to go for the next call. Then after we finish up and you go home, what's the first thing you want to do?
Go to sleep.
What was that? Shower. Okay, I said that to say this. I've been in contact with the town manager, and I know the county is trying to do a feasibility study on the whole county for its fire service. We don't know how long that's gonna take. That could take 1.5 years, 2 years or longer, correct, Scott?
It should be 12 months, I would think.
12 months, okay. We don't know if they're gonna help us, what they want to do, or you know what. Okay, I've also talked to him about a shower at the fire department. So I talked to him and told me to get a couple estimates. So I got 2 estimates on kind of redoing our bathrooms over there and to add 1 shower in there. So the daytime guys, if they're working, they get a call, something first thing in the morning, they're out 3 or 4 hours and they're hot and sweaty. I don't expect them guys to sit there for the rest of that 7, 8 hours and stink, sweat, and like some of the houses we have to go to mutual aid. Some of these houses ain't in good shape, if you know what I mean. You come out, you gotta worry about things getting on you and stuff, you need to take a shower. So anyway, to make a long story short, I did what he said. I got 2 estimates, to redo the showers, redo the bathrooms over there, and put in 1 shower and 1 bathroom, and we're gonna make both of the bathrooms, both ladies and men. It's just gonna be, straight across the board. That way, if we ever hire a lady in the daytime, she'll just have to go to the bathroom, go to the shower, lock the doors, but you're gonna do that anyway. But anyway, the estimates are, I had 1 estimate for $24,000, which is way out of the range. And what they're gonna have to do to go in and redo the walls and stuff, put up some lighting, and they're gonna have to bust up the floor to get to the drain to put the shower in. And the other estimate I got was $15,000. So, I don't know how y'all want to do it, if y'all want to do anything about it, but, you gotta think about, if you're on call 10 hours a day and you go through all this, what would you like to do? Sit there in it all day, or would you like to take a shower? So, I'm asking the board, would you go redo the bathrooms for 15? I will say this, I probably won't be around, these young guys will be here, probably within the next 5 to 8, 10 years. You're gonna have to look at a building. So,
You do have monies available in the SCIF allocation, the State Capital Infrastructure Fund, so we could tap that to pay for those costs without hitting the town's fund balance. And that would be a capital project which would be eligible. I'd recommend maybe getting a 3rd estimate, the contractor that did the library as well.
I don't know about him.
Did good work and was very reasonable. Your low of 10,000 may be the best too, but again, monies are available through the SCIF, and if the board's amenable to allowing us to get a 3rd estimate and then see between the 3, and then to tap into the SCIF funds, we could pursue that.
So you're saying that the SCIP program, that's a grant like that he can?
Yeah, that's the gosh, what did we get on that? $500,000 of the State Capital Infrastructure Fund. We've done the library, we've done town hall, various projects that are capital related.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, because truly, we need a fire department, but my God, I know first you're saying you're gonna need a new fire truck, now this, and you're saying in a couple of years we're gonna need, all of the town money gonna go towards the fire department. And but the town gotta have other things, so I know that there got to be plenty of grant money and stuff out here for fire departments and all, and we just got to dig a little deeper and look for things every year for the fire department.
A lot of your grants are out there for fire department is basically, you know, basically if the fire departments are on their own. And we're a department of the town, we're not on our own. And, so, you know, I don't know, but I mean, I'll go either way, but I mean, I'm just saying, you know, we went 15 years without doing anything for the fire department, and now just, you know, basically come up with this. So that'll be the end of my presentation. I'd like to turn it over to Captain.
May I say something?
Sure.
Let's don't lose sight. We talked about home ownership and upgrading properties. Everybody that's a property owner, I'm assuming, in most cases, there's a mortgage on it. The mortgage company requires you to keep it insured. Okay, one of the things that controls the rate that you're paying on your fire and extended coverage or your homeowner's policy is the rating that our fire department has. And if we don't stay up to standards, that rating, and we've been hearing on the news, different communities, you know, raising their rating. These guys work hard, and there's probably 10 different things you got to do to keep that rating up so that our fire insurance for our homes is affordable. The second thing is these guys are trying to recruit young people. There's I know we've got a couple of paid people, but most of them are volunteers. We can't expect volunteers to come down there and not have a good environment. And also, there's a safety. Most of y'all don't remember this, but back in the late 40s, early 50s, we actually lost a firefighter. A guy by the name of Mr. Abiunis, the same people that had been living in Bethel for years. You know, and just like Thomas said, I've been in the fire department. I've been in those blazing buildings with the Scott air packs. It's dangerous stuff, and it's not only dangerous that it threatens your life. If you're sucking up, you know, smoke down in your lungs, it has long-lasting effects. My sense is after our sheriff's department deal, and of course, the nice thing about our fire department is if there's an emergency, you call and they come.
That's right.
If your cat's up the tree, call the fire department. They'll come help you, I promise you. You know, if, you know, I know there's been some times where we had an elderly person that actually fell, and it was a big person, and it took 2 or 3 people to move that person. Call the fire department. They'll get them up on, yeah.
Took 5.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. But I've been to some of those calls myself. And so let's don't sell these guys short, and then, you know, every week, every month, Thomas comes in here and says, well, how many new firefighters you got? And, you know, and what he ought to tell you is you guys keep up, and we're doing pretty good right now, right?
Got 6 new ones.
Okay, well, that's part of our commitment to keep things, you know, give them the equipment so it's a safe deal over there. So, you know, you're gonna pay the price. It's just a matter you're gonna pay it today. And I'll give you a good example of deferred maintenance on things or deferred of spending money. What was the number that DOT gave us to bring all of our streets up to standards? Like $3 million?
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Okay, we didn't spend any money on these streets for 50 years, literally 50 years. And the little drop in the bucket that we get from the Powell bill money, you know, you got to keep this stuff paid up and keep stuff maintained. You know, just like this list on this street, $1.3 million in fair category. That's only half the story. In 5 years, that 1.3 is gonna cost you 3.3, and those streets are gonna be in poor category. And then you're gonna have people, you know, in a safe situation that's not safe. You know, look, I'm gonna vote for the fire department because I don't want the responsibility if somebody gets hurt and say, well, if we'd have had this or that, we wouldn't have had this problem. You know, we gotta support these people, and it costs money to support them, and they're doing it with their free time. I mean, it's one of the reasons that I got out of the fire department is I didn't have time to do all the training. Maybe I should have taken the time. But these guys are taking time away from their families, their friends, their hobbies, fishing, and then going over, you ride down on Saturday morning and see what's going on. They're washing hoses, they're putting batteries in the trucks, they're doing all this kind of stuff. We got to support these people. I mean, we don't have a choice, it's not a vote. It's just a matter of when you're gonna do it.
All right, I'll turn it over to Kevin Bryant.
Good evening. Start off with another, you might think it's a joke, but it's a serious statement. In my first few years of my career with firefighting, as a volunteer, I was with another department. And we had a structure fire call in the evening, a house on fire. So I was driving the engine, and I was the first unit in on the site. The house was rolling, as we call it. Plenty of flames showing, plenty of smoke. The owner of the property met me at the beginning of the lane going up to his house and stood in front of my truck and said, "Don't put it out." Which is kind of unusual. And I said, "Might I ask why you don't want me to put it out, or us to put it out?" He said, "If it burns down, I get a new house. If you put out the fire, they repair it. I want a new house." I said, "I'll make you a deal. I'll stand by it 100%. He said, "What is it?" I said, "You go stand right in the middle of the house. And as long as you're standing there, I won't put any water on it. When you come out, I'm putting water on it." He said, "You're crazy." I said, "Now that we've established that fact, get out of my way." Okay, enough of that. Good evening, Mayor, Manager, Commissioners, staff, and all of you for coming in tonight. I'm here tonight to discuss with you the status of Unit 2102, your first line fire engine for the town of Bethel. Over the last 4 required annual pump tests, this unit has shown signs of increasing wear of the fire pump, up to and including it making noises within the pump indicating excessive wear or damage within the pump impeller. It is the conclusion of the person performing the most recent test that this unit will not pass its next required annual pump test. If this occurs, this unit could not continue to serve as an engine unless extensive repairs are made. Currently, the primer motor on the pump has failed. A new replacement is reportedly not available, and efforts are underway to see if rebuilding the current primer is possible. Keeping in mind, this is a 1997 fire truck, 28 years old. The primer motor is an additional accessory on the main fire pump. It's used for drafting. It removes the air from the lines to pull the water to the engine, to the pump. And so when we go to a drafting situation with a dump tank or an emergency situation from a pool or a creek or a river, pull water out of it, we have to have that primer motor to remove the air to create a suction in the line. Okay, and that's one of the parts of the test, of the annual test, is required to be performed. With this information in hand, a committee was formed from within the fire department. The committee was tasked with working with fire apparatus vendors to communicate our requirements and request price quotes from them to build and provide the department with a new apparatus, fire apparatus. The committee worked with 3 vendors, which were the following: E1 from Fire Connections in Rocky Mount, Rosenbauer from C.W. Williams in Rocky Mount, and Pierce from Atlantic Emergency Solutions, their home offices in Fayetteville. The committee reviewed the provided specifications and price quotes from all 3 vendors and made their recommendation based on the following: operability, functionality, and reliability, including service after the sale. Based upon the information provided, the committee recommends purchasing an E1 fire engine from Fire Connections of Rocky Mount in the amount of $525,092. The most compelling reason to purchase now, in addition to the problems with the current unit, is that the engine of choice, L9 Cummins, for any new unit is currently available. However, if we wait to purchase, the federal government is implementing additional emission requirements effective 2017. All 3 vendors told us the same thing on that. So it wasn't one vendor like a used car salesman, "You got to buy it now, I got somebody waiting." That this is a fact. I've even gone online and verified it, that the emissions are coming.
Captain.
Yes, sir.
27.
27.
27, I'm sorry, what did I say?
17.
Oh my God. What I was trying to think is the L9 engine, the Cummins engine that's currently in production, was last revised in 2017. It's been in production for 25 years. It's a proven workhorse engine. Has a tremendous track record.
The new engine that would be required for new engine or whatever is a Cummins X10, which is a brand new engine design of larger size. It's 10-cylinder versus the inline 6-cylinder we currently have, which will require significant design changes to any new apparatus and will cost an additional $70,000 plus. 3 vendors told us between $70,000 and $100,000 extra for X10 Cummins engine. This engine is huge, and is even in the mechanics or whatever, that's required to have a 48-volt alternator on it to increase voltage required to burn the emissions away. They make the emissions so much tighter on the engines, okay? So that law comes into effect in 27. Price quotes were as follows. Rosenbauer, $589,886, E1, $525,092, Pierce, $498,021. Pierce appears to be the low bidder, however. We have experienced numerous problems with difficulty in scheduling and completing repairs with the last 2 Pierce units purchased from Atlantic Emergency Solutions. We've got one truck right now that's still waiting to be repaired, and their representative told us it will be repaired 2 months ago, and it's still sitting there, okay? Fire Connections offers the quickest delivery of the 3 vendors at 16 months from date of contract signing. We have worked with the vendors to provide a program unit. This is a unit that they make over and over and over as a specific design. You can make some alterations to it, but you can't make major changes. If we were to say we want a different size pump on it than what their program stock is, for instance, it would put into a custom order or custom chassis. There are several other things we changed that would cause that too. And if we went to a custom order, it would be 24 to 30 months delivery for a custom unit. So again, that's why we chose a program unit. Fire Connections also was the most informative of all 3 companies in meeting our requirements. And if we had questions, they answered the questions all but 1 or 2 that night, and those answers within 24, 40 hours. So the other ones, we had to wait 2, 3 weeks to find out stuff. If you were to purchase, here are your options. Option 1, sign a contract with the intent to purchase with the manufacturer, whatever, which would lock in the current quoted price and require no funds until the apparatus is delivered. So you could sign a contract for a new truck at the quoted price with no money down, okay, until the delivery. Second option, this is kind of a unique, and they're the only ones that offered this. You would invest, in other words, you would pay full amount at the time of the contract signing with the agreement that interest on this money would be paid to the town of Bethel at a rate of 5% per annum based on a daily rate. This interest would be paid to the town based on completion date at factory. That 5% based on per annum, when you break it down to a daily rate, is about $71.93 a day. Okay, that time starts when the contract signs until the truck is completed at the factory, ready for final inspection by fire department personnel and Fire Connection personnel. Okay, then it will stop. Okay, that is estimated to be about 15 months. If 15 months would be $32,818 that would be returned to the town off of the 526 paid, and that would make their cost, our cost, $492,074 if you chose that option. If you chose that option, I also recommend that you get a $2,100 surety bond. That's recommended. That's in case of, God forbid, the manufacturer would go broke. Something happened, they couldn't provide the truck or whatever, the town would be covered in that situation, okay? Additional funding, $25,000 can come from the Pitt County. It's available from Pitt County upon request by the fire chief or town of Bethel for new truck purchase. They provide $25,000 to any department purchasing a new truck. Correct, chief?
Right.
And the other thing is, we talk about 50-50 grant, matching grant. Thing about 50-50 grant is, when you apply for something on it, you can't order it until you get award of that grant. They say you got it. If you order it before they award that grant, it's on you. Okay? So with the timing of the engine and emission situation, and the next 50/50 grant application occurring next February, and the truck should be here about October, December, whatever, next year. You can't get that in that, because if we placed the order now, it wouldn't qualify for the 50/50 grant. So in that case, we would recommend that the town apply for the 50/50 grant for up to $40,000, which would require $20,000 from the town of Bethel to match the $20,000 from the state. The grant will be for purchasing equipment, hoses, nozzles, hand tools, et cetera, for the new truck. I'm done. Any questions?
Thank you, Cap.
Any questions for Captain Bryant from the board?
Well, didn't we get a truck since I've been on board? What was that, a used truck?
We got,
It was a used, equipment truck.
we got a used,
$1,000.
we got a 1999 used equipment truck, beverage chassis. And we also have a 2018 pumper tanker. This is not a pumper tanker. This is a fire engine, a mainline pumper. Okay? This is 1,000 gallon tank on the truck, 1,500 gallon per minute pump, Cummins L9 engine, Freightliner N2106 chassis, Allison automatic transmission, Hale pump, et cetera, et cetera.
So the newest truck you have is the 2018 International Pumper Tanker. That we have a debt service of, we make about $11,827 per year. The interest rate we're paying is 3.375. It's a 20-year note, be paid off in 2038. We have about a balance of $121,000.
How much do we owe on the fire truck? I thought it was almost paid off.
No, the loan was taken out in February of 2018. It was a $170,000 loan, and the balance according to USDA rule development is $121,000.
That's on the old fire truck we bought?
It's on their your newest, I guess, right? 2018 is your newest.
Yes, yes. They replaced the 50-year-old truck we had before.
What you gonna get for that truck?
That's up to the town and the staff to decide what they
What
want
we
to do
would
with it.
do is run a spec on it. I would get probably the guys that actually, if we buy this truck, come in and give me a spec on that truck and tell me what it's worth.
Give me a ballpark.
Not much.
I would say,
50, 75.
well, with the pump and the shape it is, I mean, I feel bad if I wouldn't tell whoever bought it about the pump.
Of course.
Cause you're looking,
They're gonna check it out.
oh yeah, you're looking $30,000 to $50,000 to replace that pump. I would say we might, if we look, get $20,000, 10 to 15.
Okay.
I was gonna say 10, but that's okay.
I mean, and that's if
So,
we're looking.
so the most, say, I was, the most 50/50 grant that we can get is, you're saying it's $40,000?
40,000.
It's 40, excuse me,
Go ahead.
correction. It's 40, it went up last year, well, it used to be 30, and that went up 40. So if we match 40, they'll give us 40, so that'd be $80,000.
I thought it was 2020.
No, it's gone up now.
On the 80,000?
It's on the
I stand
80,000.
corrected. Okay.
Plus the county will give you 25.
Plus the county's gonna give us 25. So that's 105,000.
I was shocked when they offered 5% per annum interest rebate back, you might say, investment money back. Because no other company or vendor offered that as an option.
I'm not sure that's legal. That's like investing in, you know, I think it's a fine line whether that would be actually,
They're doing it. Because I know another department that's doing the same thing.
you gotta take the cash money that the town has, and there's only one place you can put it, and besides a minimal, you know, almost no, you know, you gotta put this state fund up there. So you can't call up Merrill Lynch or somebody like that and say, I'm gonna put my money over there, so you know, obviously we want.
But you would be contracting with this, Fire Connections, which would be going through E1. So it'll be a contract.
But it's like depositing money in a bank, when you send them
Well-
whatever up there,
You get money back.
you know, we would have to call the LGC and see if that was even doable. I think it's a 50/50 chance that it's not doable.
We need to compare too, our fund balances with the North Carolina Cash Management Trust. And this year we projected $120,000 in revenues. We're like at 140 plus. Next year, I think I did 130, not knowing what interest rates would do. I was asking staff to look and see what they're currently paying on the interest rate. I'm not sure off the top of my head. Okay.
They're doing that to several departments. It's not just us. And it changes as the,
Still gotta check.
it's variable as time,
Plus
I
the
will,
fact, you know, you're putting a lot of course, I know you're talking about, bonding that company, which they should.
bond for us.
Bond.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the guarantee, so we get guaranteed.
That was recommended by Fire Connections. Travis
That's
May,
the
Travis
only way
May
you can do
is the owner of it, and I've been communicating with him. And first words I had asked yesterday, he says, if you choose this option, he said, I don't think he's gonna have anybody, but to protect the town, it would be wise to take out a surety bond.
I don't think we could do it without this.
Well, I agree. I would, it's my money.
Well, Mr. Scott, how is the budget that we have for the fire department and Commissioner Tom, I mean, you know, every year when the budget, when it's time for, okay, you know what need to be, look like it's not gonna make it, so why don't you have a list of everything, and then you wouldn't have to come every meeting saying you need something for the fire department, and then we already have the budget. If we have to go up on the fire department budget, then we wouldn't have to go through this every meeting that he needs something. Now, and I'm not understanding, I know we got a fire department, and don't get me wrong, and I'm speaking to the audience, you know, we need a fire department, but I'm just trying to say, it seems like every meeting we have, I mean, there's a need. But what I'm saying is, why don't you have your thing already for the year when we do our budget? And then they can put aside, if they have to put aside more money, and then that is what you got for the year.
Well, I've turned in a paper, I think at first of the year or later, 1 year, 5 year, 10 years, and 15 years of what we needed for the next 15 years, and you got a copy of that, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got a copy of that, so it's already been turned in.
And we went over that when we went over the fire department's budget 2 weeks ago.
Right.
And this request is really an unusual request. It's not a normal year-to-year operational request. This is a $500,000 piece of apparatus. I mean, you really wouldn't budget and save for this. This is really something that either you need to finance, or if you have adequate fund balance, to pay out of fund balance. Just depends. The whole fund balance analysis I gave was kind of letting you know, think, how do you want to spend that fund balance? What is your priorities? The stormwater, the fire truck, street paving. I mean, those are the three major things that kind of came to my mind. And obviously, being $2.8 million of needs right there compared to about $941,000 in known fund balance after the reserve we set aside that we need to hang on to. That's where we need to start wrapping our hands around. On street paving, we're getting $60,000 a year from Powellville funds, which is kind of a drop in the bucket to the $1.3 million that they said we needed in our next category of paving.
What we need to do, we need to have a capital budget for the fire department, so that you're putting aside, looks like to me, probably $50,000 a year, in addition to the operating expenses, so that basically you estimate how much your capital will need as far as buying trucks. It has nothing to do with maintaining the trucks, or buying hoses, or buying uniforms, not the turnout gear, all that kind of stuff.
I asked for that about 8 years ago.
Well, no, we've always wanted to do it, we just never had the money to be able to do it.
Yes, sir.
I mean, just within the fire department itself, if you look year over year, the adopted budget for the fire department last year at this time, you had almost $123,000 budget. This year, based upon Chief Lilly and Commissioner Lilly's discussion, it's a little over $144,000. So, I mean, that budget is going up, and that's not even including really capital equipment discussion. That's ongoing operating costs.
That's right.
But so is everything else going up, Scott.
True.
I mean, when we say it looks like more and more is being asked for, I mean, you can't buy Christmas toys anymore, you know?
But what you want to try to avoid, if you can, and a lot of it is a big gamble. you don't want that main pump to blow up. And then you gotta spend $50,000 on a 30-year-old truck. You know, that's not good. And particularly when a 30-year-old truck might have $20,000 salvage value. So if we can be proactive, and it might be that we have to go out and take, you know, beg, borrow, and steal as much as we can from grants and stuff like that, take a little bit of that fund balance and put in there, and then finance some of it. But that's what we've always done, is just gone to the USDA and they send us a truck and pay for it the rest of your life, which we still. But you gotta have a truck.
Why you let that truck get 28 years old?
And just to let you know, that's the truck outside.
As I said earlier, this is a program truck we're looking at. This isn't one with all the bells and whistles and pretty shiny stuff.
This is just about the bottom line of the truck.
It will do our job. That's what we work for.
Buckets.
Sorry?
One notch above buckets.
Well, it might be 2 notches above it, but, you know. But it meets our requirements. That's the main thing.
With the cost of $500,000, if you had the $100,000 of grant money, even though there's some town money in there, if you bring that down to $400,000, in terms of if you went to USDA for a loan, if you looked at current interest rates, what we're paying right now on a $170,000 loan is about $12,000 per year. That $12,000, correct. That equates to almost a penny on the town's tax rate. It'd probably take 2 pennies, because I'm gonna think we're probably gonna be paying off debt of $340,000, rather than the 170, twice as much. So, I mean, I don't know if you pay off the 2018 and then take the debt service we're currently paying on it, and then do another 12,000 on top of that for a 20-year period. You pay some down with fund balance and some with the debt instrument.
Are we forgetting that we're about to increase, if Mr. Blunt is correct, rooftops in this town significantly?
But you can't bet on that, Fred. You got to budget what you got in hand.
True.
Look, I can promise you that Bethel's gonna grow substantially. I just can't tell you if it's gonna be 6 months or 6 years or, with all these jobs out here, it's got to come this way. I mean, planners are looking right now, the people who are planning for the mega site out here, is one of the things they're trying to address is where all these people that have kind of come and work in these industries, where they're gonna live. And Bethel is the best place for them to live. The only thing we don't know, we got the budget like we're broke, which we are, still broke. And then as Bethel starts to grow, your revenues will increase, and then you can do some more things. But I mean, it's still, you know, a tight budget, real tight, more than tight.
So is there any further discussion? You've heard the recommendations given by Chief Bryant. Have you heard the
No,
recommendation?
not chief yet. I won't be chief.
But Captain Bryant?
I'm high enough. I'm good enough.
All right.
Thanks for the recommendation.
And you heard the recommendation from Commissioner Lilly, Chief Lilly. So at this time, what's the wishes of the board? Is there any further discussion?
I don't know if I'm allowed to, but I make a motion we either, sign a contract, wait 16 months and pay for it, or whatever, but that price is only good
May 23rd.
May the 23rd of this year. And if we miss out on it and we go to that X10, you're looking at another $70,000 to $100,000 just for the engine and everything else. So you're gonna be losing all the way around if you wait. And to be honest with you, I with that truck right there, I really don't see, if we wait and that truck fails, I can tell you right now, your insurance is gonna go sky high.
So the fire department don't have a budget?
The what?
So the fire department don't have a budget?
Yes, we do.
Yes.
And I know last time I heard you said something about a grant that you had applied for.
Yeah, we applied for it, but we didn't get it.
Okay.
They have a budget, but not a budget to handle this large capital expense.
Yeah, you can't put a $500,000 truck in a budget. I mean, you're gonna have to, whatever.
Schedule those car breakdowns a little bit better. Plan them out.
Well, there's two budgets. The fire department really needs two budgets.
Right.
We've had an operating budget, which basically pays for changing oil, putting tires on the trucks, keeping the facility maintained, if they have equipment go to bad. That's the stuff that comes up every day, 52 weeks a year, and that's basically what we budget for.
Right.
What we've never been able to budget, because we didn't have any money, is this equipment is getting old and wearing out. Every day it's getting older and older. You're looking at a 20, and I'm not saying do it, because it's a close deal. I think we need some more study to figure out, I mean, that's a lot of money to spend.
It is.
And you can look, I mean, basically, it seems like we got a lot of money in the bank, but we don't, really.
And my thing is, if he already presented the list to Scott about everything he need, why he keep coming asking, why haven't it been taken care of? How long have it been since he presented that list to you?
Well, I think the list was compiled before I got to the town in previous budget cycles. I think the fire truck came up this year knowing the fund balance availability situation.
Well, the fire truck's actually has come up for the last 3 or 4 years.
So when you got that fire truck out there, were you having a problem with the other truck?
Yes.
You were still having a problem with the other truck, even when you got that one?
The one there?
When you got this truck out here, is this the same truck, or is you having a problem with another truck?
Another truck.
So why didn't you combine it then and just got a brand new truck
Well, that is the brand new truck we got an issue with.
that you have a problem with?
They still hadn't fixed it.
Well, that's the tanker.
Not all fire trucks are the same. You got
Right.
a moving truck, a tanker,
Right.
they're not all.
That's right.
The truck that we recently purchased was a used 1999 cabin chassis with a beverage body on the back for our rescue and salvage truck. We chose to go a used route. That time we got an opportunity to pick one up, and our other one was beyond wore out. So at that time we chose to purchase one. We weren't aware that this one had the significant problems it has now at the time, but we have been predicting in the past that it's time. It's time. There's recommended life of a fire engine is 20 years. You can run them longer, but
We all, look, I've seen 5 or 6 different times a spreadsheet listing the equipment and the age of the equipment. Yeah, I want everybody to listen to me. Is anybody in here driving a 28-year-old car?
there you go.
Huh? Why not? Why not? You know?
Thing is, why you let it go that long? That's my thing.
That stuff over there is old, and they try to baby it as much as they can, and I'm not saying, because you gotta come up with a financing package, because you don't have enough money in the town's budget right now to buy this truck, I'm sorry.
If
Not with all these other things that are listed down here.
when you will see me when I arrive at your house at your worst time, it'll be when you need me the most, or Thomas or any other fireman. Okay, so I jump in whatever truck is provided and available, and I put the throttle, the gas pedal to the floor. I'm from 0 to wide open to get to your house. And depending on the age of that truck, it may go, it may not. But that's when you need me the most.
Is the loss of life worth it, you guys? We don't want to find out it fails, like when the house is going up in flames.
I like to redo my motion. I make a motion that we sign a contract and worry about paying for the truck 16 months from now in order to be able to get it, whatever.
That was the question that I was gonna ask. How about if you tell me we need to be daggone sure, maybe to the point that Scott and King get involved with it. But if we did sign the contract, no money.
Right.
They're like in the price.
Right.
And then we take some time, how about we call them up in 6 months and say we've changed our mind, what happens?
Well, once you sign the contract, you're committed.
It's intent to purchase once you sign it.
Okay.
I mean, we would need to encumber, if you decide to sign a contract and not pay for it up front, we will encumber that expenditure in the software system to show that it's reserved to be paid for.
Well, if you sign a contract to buy a truck, when you sign that contract, if you don't know in your mind how you're gonna take care of it, then to me, that's negligence. When you sign a contract, you need to say, okay, we got so much coming from this grant that we know of. We got so much in the fund balance that we can chip in. We can go to USDA and finance some of this. You got to have a method, just like you don't go sign a contract to build a house unless you've gone to talk to your banker and got it all figured out. I mean, you just don't go out and sign a particular, I mean, if it's $25,000, that's no big deal. But $500,000, I mean, you gotta have some more talk.
One thing I did mention to the mayor and to the Commissioner Lilly, Fire Chief, that this might even need a tax increase in the future year's budget, not the one coming up July 1. But I think one thing I'm kind of remiss is the fact that a year ago, the town as well as the entire county went through reval. We had a 65-cent tax rate. Our revenue neutral was 45 cents. I came in with a recommended budget of 45 cents. Every other municipality in Pitt County, nobody else did revenue neutral. I really wish I would had selected a 50-cent tax rate so we had some leeway to do debt service for a fire truck, additional road paving and whatnot. I guess if the picture I'm painting is it may take a tax increase at some point in the future. Maybe some use of fund balance and a tax increase to help pay the debt service on some portion of it. We may get a loan through USDA. I know people don't like that word, TI, but
You're gonna pay interest over 20 years.
Okay, so we've heard one motion made by Commissioner Lilly and the retraction of a motion by Commissioner Lilly. And right now, the motion we have on the floor is to sign a contract.
and worry about paying
16 months later. That's the motion that's on the floor right now. Is there any further discussion?
Can I say that motion would assume the use, in order for us to sign a purchase order or to encumber those funds, we're going to assume at least initially that fund balance is being used. As a finance officer, I've got to certify how that contract is gonna be paid for. I can't just say, oh, we're gonna sign this and worry about it down the road. Once it rolls in town.
DEC requires us, our fund balance might be a little more than what the bare minimum, but we need to have a little more than the bare minimum as far as fund balance goes.
Okay, is there any other discussion from the board?
One other point, so the current bid is good through May 23rd. Your concern is that if you don't go ahead and execute this bid, that expires and that the L9 engine versus an X10, we were told that the availability of the L9 engine at some point is going to end, and you'll be forced to take an X10. Am I portraying that correctly?
And no one can give me a date as to they're cut off the L9 this date and start to extend that date. They call up and order trucks, and they jump in and get in line. If there's an engine there for it, it's fine. If it isn't, they go to work. Eastern Pines is ordering a new truck right now, and they've got, trying their best to get the L9 engine. They've got an alternate L9 or X10 in theirs. They're getting a huge truck, 4-door custom cab, everything. Their truck's $860,000.
So, Mayor, I would suggest if Commissioner Lilly is amenable to amending his motion to sign the contract, initially utilize fund balance with the possibility of later looking at a combination of fund balance and/or financing. You have to specify something.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I can't sign off on it as your town manager and finance officer.
Well, let's do it the way you said it.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation of the Commissioner Lilly as well as the recommendation of the manager in reference to signing off on this contract. At this time, is there any further discussion? If there's no further discussion, all in favor that we go the route that the manager and Commissioner Lilly had suggested? If all in favor?
Can you let them know what was that rap? The audience.
So again, the motion is to use the town fund balance that's available. Again, right now, what I said tonight was about, as we know it, as of this point in time, $941,000 and/or a combination of a portion of some of the town fund balance and/or additional financing through USDA.
What is the minimum that there's a state agency called Local Government Commission, and you go ask Robertsonville about how to deal with them. Robertsonville's finances were handled so poorly that they can't, they might have gotten straight now, but for a while, for a year or two, Robertsonville had to get a check cleared before they could write somebody a check. So there's a minimum fund balance that LGC requires us. Do we know?
The LGC has a very unrealistic fund balance percentage of 1 month's operating expenses of a town or a county, which is totally, I mean, again, the peer group percentage is 63%. As you look at across North Carolina, towns the size, roughly the size of the town of Bethel, and that's that number. We had $957,000 that we would hold in fund balance.
We're between a rock and a hard place, aren't we, Mr. Blunt?
Well, I like.
'Cause we don't want to touch that fund balance.
Well, no, we don't. I'd like to make a comment. I look, I was the one who made the speech in favor of the fire department. I wanna see what we can do. But I want somebody to lay these numbers down because, you know, the deal is if you go out, say we did take $100,000 out of the fund balance, which means some of these projects that we've got listed down here, you know, we've committed to spend $200,000 on the Smith Street project. We've committed to spend $200,000 on demolition of structures. We're still, the street paving is not an emergency, but we're still behind the 8 ball. We've spent a lot of that fund balance. And I wanna see a plan saying, that I can vote for, and I support trying to get a fire truck. But I wanna see a plan that we're gonna be willing to defer some of the street paving maybe. Or, you know, I mean, all we're doing is everybody comes down here complaining about water standing in the yards. I mean, all we're doing is a study. And we ain't even started, you know, working on the ditches, which is gonna be $2 or $3 million. You know, I mean, I wish we could, at least go back and figure this thing a little closer. I can't vote for this motion right now, I'm sorry, as much as I support, you know, getting a fire truck, but this is kinda loosey-goosey for my life. We don't have that much money in town.
Have you had, I know you said that the, grant you applied for, that it didn't, go through, and, I just feel that you're not a grant writer, and it could be one word. It could be one grant. When we was at the meeting, we was standing in there talking when we was down there in Windsor to that banquet, and that's what the gentleman was talking about there. And as I always say, we need somebody experienced to write grants. I believe that there's money out there for the fire truck now, but there could be one word that you put on that when you fill out that grant, if you don't do it right, it's gonna throw the whole grant off.
There, if I may, we've been talking about with the commission and us for several years now about possibility of grants out there. And we have been diligently looking for grants, okay? Grants for this size purchase are extremely limited. The one that was big for a number of years was FEMA grant, Federal Emergency Management Association. However, and they did buy a bunch of trucks over the years, but now they've scaled back and aren't providing as near as many trucks. They've gone more into PPE, personal protective equipment, air packs, turnout gear, helmets, gloves, boots, etc. They've cut back on the trucks, so those days are gone. And you're right, in writing a grant, it is technical, it is necessary. For grants for us and it's helped assist us. I've not heard anything back on that from anyone. The grants that we have found that we've applied for, we applied one, 3 months ago? and it was open US wide. Within 45 minutes of the